Greetings and salutations. It is I, Professor Macabro, here again to regale you with another video. Yes, indeed, and I'm doing a movie review of a movie that I revisited on the weekend. Yes, indeed. This is actually a movie that I've been wanting to get on physical media for a while now, but I've never been able to come across the copy that I want to get. Yes, indeed, I know this got a boutique release, but as you well know, Professor Macabro can't really afford those boutique labels unless I find them super cheap. Yes, indeed. But for my collection, I've been wanting to get the midnight movie release of this one. I like collecting those midnight movie releases. They come with really cool artwork, and they fit into the theme of the collection that I have for that particular series. Yes, indeed. Much like Killer Clowns from Outer Space has gotten Blu-ray releases with covers that I don't really care for, and the boutique release, which I can't afford, the midnight movie DVD releases from MGM are a nice little thing to collect for. Sure, sometimes they don't have any special features, which sucks, not gonna lie, but I like the artwork and I like seeing the little label there and seeing it all on my little shelves. Yes, indeed. And the movie in question that I revisited and I'm still need to find that copy on physical media is The Vampire Lovers. Yes, indeed. A horror production. Of course it's a horror production. That's what I'm talking about. But it's a Hammer Studios production starring Ingrid Pitt. Yes, indeed. And this is, well, it's kind of, sort of, not really, but loosely based on the Carmilla story. And Carmilla was a vampire. A vampiress that would feed on people. Released before Bram Stoker's Dracula. Yes, indeed. Some people say it was one of the inspirations for Bram Stoker's novel. And this one, like I said, does have the name and variations of the name, but it stars Ingrid Pitt as the titular vampiress. Yes, indeed. And I like this movie. I remember watching it probably at an age that I probably shouldn't have when I was much younger. As I've probably mentioned before, but if not, I will mention it here. Professor Macabro would sneak, when he was a little child, would sneak down to the TV room and would turn on the TV very low so as to not to wake up anyone and watch late night movies. Sometimes I would get sci-fi movies, sometimes I would get karate movies, most of the times I would get horror movies. And in my young age, and now in my old age, and in my sleep-deprived state, I tend to have forgotten or gotten mixed up a couple of movies through the ages. Things that I remember seeing, but I never tracked down the name of it until the advent of the YouTubes and the internets, where I can ask around fellow movie lovers and get the 411 on the movies. That's how I discovered The Radioactive Reporter. Revenge of the Radioactive Reporter, which is a movie that I saw late one night and left an impact, and I also still need to track down. But The Vampire Lovers left a different mark on me because of Ingrid Pitt. Not gonna lie, I do so love a sexy vampire movie with a sexy vampire lead, and Ingrid Pitt, she's muy caliente in this movie. Yes, indeed, definitely left an impact. Which is, I guess, why I have a thing for British accents, yes indeed, and on women, and why I also have a thing for vampire women. Also, a big reason for that is El Santo versus the vampire women. Just like the whole vampire women aesthetic. Yes indeed, I do love me a very sexy vampire woman. But what is The Vampire Lovers about? Well, let me tell you. It is about, in ancient times, it starts with this guy stalking this really cool figure that's like in these velvety robes and things, and they use a really cool slow motion effect where it's moving and like the wind and the fog is moving in slow motion. It really sells the ghastly, ghostly appearance of this thing that is walking through the graves. And he's explaining that he took a piece of the shroud this thing was buried on, so that the vampire could not rest on its grave. And the vampire comes after him, And he's like, looky, looky, I've got your veil. And the vampire unveils, and it's a sexy lady. Ooh, sexy lady, muy caliente. And at first he's like, duh, sexy, beautiful lady, duh. But then, it's supposed to be that he's scared shitless, but how could you be scared shitless out of a beautiful lady? Makes no sense. I wouldn't be scared of a beautiful lady. Even if he is a vampire. Or you could say that he was hypnotized by the vampire and her sexiness, and he's like, duh. But eventually he comes to his senses and chops her head off. And we cut off to a castle ball, and everyone's dancing, and everyone's like, cha-cha-cha. And we're introduced to these characters, and Peter Cushing is there, but he's not playing Van Helsing, he's playing some sort of European general. And in comes the Baroness, not from G.I. Joe, but the Baroness, and introduces her daughter, Marcilla, which is Ingrid Pitt. And eventually she forms a little friendship with Peter Cushing's daughter, and unfortunately she dies. Not Marcilla, but the daughter of the Peter Cushing general. She's dead, expires, no longer with us, unable to breathe, devoid of life, expired, you see. And we switch to another character called Emma, who was also introduced at the beginning there. And the father of Emma is out and about, and then all of a sudden he comes across a carriage, and the Baroness is again there, and he's like, oh, I'm late for a very important date. But I need someone to take care of my niece. And surprise, it's Ingrid Pitt, but this time she's called Carmilla, like in the story, the vampire story, yes indeed. And him being, like a stand-up citizen that he is, apparently, he's like, never you mind. Yeah, your niece can stay with us. Yes, indeed. And she will be good company for my daughter, Emma. So she stays with Emma, and Carmilla starts doing her thing. And I must admit, yes, indeed, I very much related to Carmilla in the way that she drinks the blood of her victims. Yes, indeed, if I became a vampire, that's probably the same way I would drink the blood of my female victims. Because, you see, Carmilla, unlike other vampires, well, she does it to the guys, but not to the girls. Curious. But most vampires will go for the jugular. She's drinking for me jugular. But Carmilla, which again was probably what I would do if I was a vampire that would feed on the ladies, she goes for the boobies. Yes, indeed. All of her victims have 2 vampire marks on their boobies. And I'm like, of course. Yes, I can relate to that. And my goodness, this does have a lot of boobies, which is again also why it probably left an impact and a certain appreciation for that particular body part in my young, impressionable mind. Yes, indeed. So, she goes around and she's sucking the blood from the boobies. The booby blood. Yes, indeed. Not the booby milk, the booby blood. And, eventually things come together and the doctor's like, curious. She has 2 bites on her boobies, just like that other lady. Interesting. And then he gets killed before he can release what happened. But eventually, everyone comes together. The guy from the intro of the movie, Peter Cushing, who is not Van Helsing, but he's a general, and the boyfriend and the father of Emma, who is Carmilla's more recent victim. They all realize, like, shock and awe, Marcilla? She is also Carmilla? And she turns out to be an ancient vampire from a family of vampires that the guy from the intro started killing. But she got away. Yes, indeed. And also, there's this guy in a black, suit and a fluffy hat, which I need to get that fluffy hat. I like that fluffy hat. On a horse, and all he does is like, laughing like a fucking idiot at everything that happens. But he's a vampire, so I don't know what the deal is with that guy. So eventually everyone goes after Carmilla and properly stabs and decapitates the poor sexy Ingrid Pitt. And that made me sad because, such a waste of a sexy vampire. Yes, indeed. But thus, they kill Carmilla, and Emma is saved from the vampire's thrall, and everyone is happy and go lucky, except that there's still that black guy with the fluffy hat running around that points to a sequel. I don't know. Maybe. Possibly. Who knows? But yes, very, very much enjoy The Vampire Lovers. Ingrid Pitt, great, great, great. She's very seductive, very sexy. At least I think she's freaking sexy. I do so love Ingrid Pitt, and she has a really cool... I know this is probably making me look bad, and I'm losing all my female demographic, but I appreciate the female body for the work of art that it is. I do so enjoy contemplating the female body in movies. And Ingrid Pitt, she has this tub scene in a shower, and she looks all soapy and sexy and muy caliente, yes indeed. And Emma, I don't know the name of the actress, but Emma also sells the plot, the role very well, like this innocent, happy-go-lucky lady that's the victim of Carmilla's vampire ways. And very interesting that back then vampires swung both ways, at least the female vampires, because she does feed and seduces both men and women, and she does so very well that everyone's just enthralled with her. She does it to a butler guy, and he's like, I am your slave now, sexy, sexy vampire lady. And he does it to the nanny, and she's like, I am yours, sexy, sexy vampire lady. And even though she's scaring the shit out of the Emma character because she's having these nightmares, she's still like, I like this whole, I am yours, sexy, sexy vampire lady. And of course, yes, I would probably be the same way. That's probably the way I'm gonna go. I'm finally gonna meet the sexy goth chick that's into horror movies, and she's gonna be a vampire, and she's gonna feed on me, and that'll be the end of me. But what a way to go! Yes, what a way to go. Life goals. So, I do highly recommend The Vampire Lovers. Great, spooky atmosphere this movie has. A great lead. Just memorable in any way possible. Ingrid Pitt is as the vampire Carmilla Marcella. The other name that she uses. Just great, great, great. She commands the screen whenever she pops up on the movie, and I like her. She is my favorite of the Hammer vampire ladies. Again, Peter Cush is in it, so you got Hammer goodness there. Wardrobes are cool. Just lots of good stuff. Obviously, it doesn't have any over-the-top gory kills, but it has boobies, so it has that going for it. And cinematography and everything, top-notch. So I highly recommend The Vampire Lovers. Now, right now it's free on Amazon Prime, but Amazon Prime has this tendency that whenever something starts getting traction, they're like, hey, everyone's watching this movie for free. Start charging for it. Shitty practice, but that's what they do. So you can get it, like I said, on a boutique release, or the one that I'm trying to track down, that MGM Midnight movie release. That is the one I want. Yes, indeed. There's two versions, if I remember right. It has The Vampire Lovers in the standalone, and The Vampire Lovers double feature with the other vampire movie that Ingrid Pitt did. Whichever one I find, I'll be happy with. Yay, thumbs up. So this definitely gets 2 thumbs up from your old pal, Professor Macabro. Sexy vampires, win. Boobies, win. Vampires, win. Win-win all over the place. Yes, indeed. So highly recommend it. Have you seen The Vampire Lovers? Did you like it? And of course you would. Why wouldn't you? And if you didn't, I would like to know in the comments down below. But until I see you all again next time, this has been Professor Macabro thanking you and wishing you all, like always, a good evening.